Hai teman-teman, hi guys. Today I am your host. My name is Luisa, and today we're receiving Hatten Wines in Bali Wine Store in Seminyak. Today our guest will be Jeremy as our speaker. Thank you. Welcome, Jeremy.
Hi.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. How are you?
Good.
I'm Luisa, and I'll be your host today.
Okay.
So
How do
I'll
you do,
be-
Lisa?
I do good.
Good.
So I was wondering, when did you start the production for Hatten Wines?
So Hatten Wines, it started in 1994, right? 1994, our owner, Ida Bagus Rai, started the business. And back then we were producing only one type of wine, which is this one, a rosé wine made from local grapes called Alphonse de la Vallée, which actually is a French variety, but somehow we found it like in Bali, right? And so with that grapes, we are making our rosé, and starting from there, and then we planted more vines with different variety. So now we have like 10 different range of wine. There are some still wines, sparkling wines, even fortified wines.
And where was the location?
Of the winery?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, the winery is located in Sanur, so it's in the south of Bali. But the vineyard is located in the north of Bali. And it's about like 4 hours driving. The vineyards are near Singaraja. We have around 40 hectares each.
Okay, and they're all your vineyards.
Yeah, and the vineyards is our vineyards, right? The Hatten vineyards. And you guys can actually visit the vineyard and also the winery.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. But it's 4 hours driving, so it's a little bit quite a hassle when you harvest, but it can be done. So normally we harvest at night, and then we process the grapes like in the morning, not in the nights, yeah, like early in the morning. So it arrives early, also like early in the morning when we start to work in the winery, and we can process all the grapes. So yeah, so if you want to come and visit, then
Yeah, for sure. So how many different varieties of wine does Hatten have?
Oh, okay. So we produce 10 different wines. So let me break down our wines here. We have 7 in bottles and 3 in cask, like it's a box. The box is about 2 liters, so if you want to have like a party or just put it somewhere in the kitchen in your house, so you can like drink the wine glass by glass. It's a perfect thing. Or you can go classic with the bottles. And so we have for white, we have 2 whites actually. First is not this one. The first one called Aga White. Aga White is a dry white wine, and this one, which I have it on the table, is called Sweet Alexandria. This is a sweet wine, not that sweet. It's semi-sweet. Yeah, semi-sweet. So that's for the whites, and then we have rosé here, Aga Rosé. And then Aga Red, the one that we are drinking currently. And we have 2 sparklings, the sparkling, dry sparkling, or they call it like a good sparkling, and then also rosé sparkling.
Okay.
And we also have a fortified wines, which is like 5 years in barrels, aged 5 years in barrels, and then we fortify it with the brandy. So when you make your wine and then you you blend it with your brandy, which is you distilled your wine to get some brandy, put it in a barrel. 5 years after, you get what we call the Pinot de Bali. And then the 3 boxes that I mentioned, we have one in white, so it's called Bali White, and then Bali Rosé for the rosé, and Bali Red for the red. So actually the idea behind our range, Hatten, is we are using local grapes, right? So local grapes meaning like grapes that's planted like locally in Bali. The variety itself could be like European variety because we are using wine grapes variety, which a little bit uncommon to be found here, right? So we need to like get some cuttings from the other part of the world, let's say, and the cuttings is the one that we take from the plants and we plant in our own land in Singaraja. So like, yeah, local grapes, locally made. So you have the local Balinese wine. That's what we are trying to portray here.
Okay. And how many varieties of grapes do you have in your own vineyard?
Okay, first of all, we have. Okay, let me tell you the varieties. So first is Muscat Saint-Vallier. Muscat Saint-Vallier is the one that you find in our whites, let's say in Sweet Alexandria. It's muscat variety, so it has this very quite muscatty character, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very perfumey. It's very typical, and that's actually I think our like biggest number of plantation, Muscat Saint-Vallier. It was started in around 2001, and then for the whites we also have another varieties called Colombert, Chenin Blanc. Yeah, those are like two main.
So those are all white wines then?
White wines, right?
Okay.
Yeah, white wines. So we make a blend. So like in a bottle of wine in our like range, you don't have like a single variety, but it's a blend. So yeah, so you have Colombert, Chenin Blanc, and also Muscat Saint-Vallier for the white, and then for the red, we have Syrah, which is, you know, it's quite popular variety, like because Syrah is the one that we can plant quite in all over the world. It has like quite body and very fruity. And then we also have Muscat Bleu in the red variety, Malvasia, and the last one, last but not least, is Alphonse Lavallée, which actually, as I mentioned before, is the first grapes that we use to make the rosé. And nowadays, like the rosé, it used to be just like Alphonse Lavallée, right? And now it has some Malvasia and Muscat Bleu inside. So yeah, and also like the red before was like 100% Alphonse Lavallée. Now it has mainly Syrah. So it's more, not more, but it's interesting to try, especially if you've ever tried our previous wine. I mean, we were having this redesign bottle and also the recipe, the formula behind each wine is changed. So yeah, and also we also have another white variety called Probolinggo Biru. Okay, so Probolinggo Biru, it has some like nice acidity, so we make it sparkling. Because when you make sparkling, like, you know, like, yeah, the sparkling, you want something that really fresh, and that freshness comes from acidity, right?
Yeah.
So you want to have a variety that has more acidity than the other. So Probolinggo Biru is the one that we use for our Tunjung, which not present here, but it's our sparkling wine. Yeah.
Okay. What is the process of making Hatten wines?
So we are actually just like in another part of the world, like it's the same process anywhere. It went through this classic fermentation for winemaking. I mean, like which one do you want me to explain? Like which?
Maybe your red wine.
Okay, the red wine. So once we harvest, right? We harvest the grapes and then we crush the grapes and then we put it in a tank, a stainless steel tank, and then we will let it ferment. So the fermentation will go for like around a week-ish. Could be more, like maybe a little bit more. And during that time, we do what we call maceration. Maceration is actually the art of soaking the grape skins and seeds with the juice. So the juice itself is not that dark color. You get the red color, a dark red deep color like this from the skin. so you need to have some skin contact with the juice and the skin. So when you ferment everything together. You just put the skin and everything in one tank. And during that time, you want to do some pump over. Pump over is actually like you're taking some juice from the bottom of the tank and pour it over, pumping over the skin on top. So by doing that, each time you extract more color, more tannin, more compounds that make the wine more interesting and more complex. And so we taste it every day, and then when we think like, okay, it's enough extraction, it has like beautiful fruit, whatever, and then we stop that, and we will take those out to our pressing machine. So we put in the pressing machine. If you see, I mean, in some movies or maybe some books, you will see like people like stomping the grapes with their feet, right? While now this is like modern winemaking, we don't do that anymore. We are using like quite big pressing machine. We press that, take all the juice out, and then we'll let age. Well, basically there's another fermentation going on for some days, and then we'll let it age, and sometimes in barrels, sometimes in the tank, and then we will blend, because you will have like different tanks coming from different batch of grapes, different variety, like the red, it has some Syrah, Malvasia, Muscat Bleu, and then Alphonse Lavallée, right? We have so many batches of those grapes, and we need to blend and find the like perfect balance, and that's actually one of the most interesting part of my job, like to blend and to taste. And then you want to let it age for some times, and then you filter, and then you bottle it, and there you go, you have your wine. And for the other, like the white wine, you want to press it in the first place, because you don't want to have so many skin contact with the juice while it's fermenting. Why? Because if you know, like the white wines coming from white variety grapes, the skin just give like this herbaceous, quite bitter taste. It doesn't have this complexity and color agent or like some aroma compound like you find in the red skin. So you don't want those things. You just want to keep your wine as fresh as possible. So first thing first, you want to press. And you take the juice and then you ferment. So you don't deal with the skin inside the juice while it's fermenting. As for rosé, why the color is pink, like many people ask, I think maybe they think it's like a blend of the red and the white, which maybe could be done like that, but we are doing what we call a draining process, or in French they call it saigner. So it's actually you harvest the grapes and then you let it drain. You crush, so when you crush it, the grapes like, crushed, right? And then you take the first juice out. It's really clear, I mean quite clear. It takes some color because the color bleach out, but you don't let it soak with the skin too long. So the color wouldn't be as bold as the red wine. And then we can also do another process, another type of making rosé, which sometimes we do both of them actually, draining and also like pressing. We can just like press very lightly, and then the same thing, fermenting in stainless steel tank, and then blending, and then you have the wine. And another wine that we have is sparkling, right? We have two sparkling. The sparkling is more complicated because it go through double ferment, not double, but like, the fermentation is 2 times. The first fermentation is just to like the same like for other wines. Actually, when you ferment your wine, your grape juice actually, you will turn the sugar into alcohol, right? And also you will create some carbon dioxide. But because when you ferment it, you put it in an open tank, the carbon dioxide will just evaporate. and then you put it in a bottle, and it still have some yeast, and you put some, sugar again, and or liquor, what we call, actually it's not sugar, but it's liquor. So the liquor it contains sugar basically. So the yeast can eat the sugar again, but now in a closed environment, in the bottle, in the sparkling bottle, and we leave it. So it will have some, some months fermentation, and the carbon dioxide will be trapped on that bottle. So that's why when you have open the sparkling, it pops out and it's bubbly. That's where the carbon dioxide coming from. So that's for the sparkling. It's actually the method that they use in Champagne. That's why in our ticket we say like méthode traditionnelle. Méthode traditionnelle. So yeah. And the last one, I think I gave you a little bit of introduction about our Pinot de Bali. It's made with 5 years of aging in a barrel. Okay. 5 years aging in a barrel with the Solera system. If you're not familiar with Solera system, it's actually like when you have barrels, you stack the barrels like in different levels, right? Okay. And then when you want to bottle, every time you have a new grapes coming, you put in the top one and top one. But when you want to bottle it, you just take half of the very first level. So you will empty half of them. Oh, now it's empty. Then you take another half from the second level to the first one, and the third level to the second, and then the very top one you have like the freshest wine. So actually you blend like half by half by half within vintages. Vintages meaning like different batch of harvesting, right? For 5 years, that's why our Pinot de Bali, it has this like brown licorice color, quite different. Yeah, that's more complex. But so that's about, I make fermentation, I process like in very short time. That's just to summarize. But I mean, if you have a specific question, then I'd have to
for sure,
to answer.
So actually, since we're in Indonesia, like the weather must be quite a problem for you in the winemaking.
Yeah, it's quite challenging, I will say, and it's very different, right? Because we are in a tropical area, so we don't have winter, right? Normally in other part of the world, you harvest once in a year. That's why when you look in the bottle, like any wine bottle, it will tell you the year. So the harvest year, like 2017, 18, 19, something, right? But if you look in ours, it doesn't say anything, because actually we harvest 3 times per year. And when you harvest 3 times per year, and then you blend with different batches, so sometimes you cannot justify if this is only made from that certain year, or maybe with a little bit blend of the last year. So yeah, we harvest 3 times a year from the same vineyard, because we don't have winter. Normally when you have winter, temperatures go very low, and then your plants, your vineyard, your vines will just go into dormant stage. They will just like basically sleep, right? And then when what's the name before summer? The spring.
Spring. Sorry.
Well, when spring times, it start to, everything will start to grow again, right? And then you will harvest your grapes in summer time, and then you harvest autumn, the leaves falling, and then winter again. So only once per year. But here in Indonesia, we don't have that.
No.
So after you harvest, and then you need to prune. Prune is to cut the branches, right? And then you cut them, and then it will start to grow right away, but like in a week or 2 weeks time. So you will have another grapes after 4 months. So yeah, that's why it's a little bit different here, quite unique, I would say.
What about the dryness? And because here is much more humid. Usually in Europe it would be dry, right?
Yes.
Does this affect at all?
Okay, this is like a fact and a challenge also for us because humidity does, you know, enhance the growth of the disease because it's humid and you get like some disease and your berries could be like rotten. And yeah, so you need to manage the vineyard quite maybe more, how to say it, like not differently but more specific.
Yeah, like daily?
Yeah, and you need to make sure you get all the sunlight, that the leaves are not like too much, and then it's making this like very humid, very humid space. So you need to do some extra work, especially.
So it's more like intense, like
more intense, I would say. Okay. More intense, and yeah, humidity is there, but gladly that our vineyard is located near to the like 1 kilometer maybe to the sea, to the beach. So we get like this a very nice wind coming from from the sea, and that wind breeze could help like to get rid all those humidity. Not 100% though, but like it just help. So that's what make our wine has their own like, you know, character and taste. Yeah.
So which Hatten wine sells the most?
I think the most selling one is our white. It's called Ida White. This is, I think, a very popular one. Yeah. But the other also like quite popular nowadays, especially after we did like this rebrand. So having like this more fresh looks and then taste quite different. People are curious about it. So yeah, but during festive months like December, you know, like New Year's, our sparkling sells like more. Yeah, and for local market, people like our sweet Alexandria. As you know, Indonesian has like more sweeter taste. Yeah, so they really like our sweet Alexandria. This is quite sweet, but not too sweet. And then yeah, we have our the Ida White is not that sweet. It's dry actually, so it's different. But yeah.
And which food, like, would you say, like, which food and beverages fits the most with the sweet Alexandria or maybe the Ida Red?
Okay, sweet Alexandria, because it's sweet, then you could really pair it with some spicy food. Like in Bali, especially, many foods are spicy, right? And so you like spiciness, and when you drink something sweet, it could like tame down the spiciness and quite make more complex within the flavor. And let's say for rosé, you can go, I mean, it's something that, you know, I would say like having rosé with some pizza, it's really nice because it's tomato based, and then it has some acidity also, but some red fruit character. So with the rosé, really nice. And then Ida Red, you can go with your classic, you know, meat, whatever meat you have. And then, but actually the most important thing is just have anything that you enjoy the most with anything you like. I mean, if you want to drink your red with white meat or white wine with red meat, then if you like it, then go for it. Go for it.
So this will be the end of our session today. You can come by Hatten Wines at Bali Wine Store. Thank you.
Please, yeah.